Parker Bay? Toronto Johnson? He says to Harker Bay? Toronto Johnson? I call for a mortgage court on brother Toronto Johnson. And anybody who's riding with him with this scandal with these videos of me and my wife frauding the people.
Check it.
I never saw my brothers and sisters serving these packages when I was with Daweed Ali and them and Taj and them used to come to Chicago.
I laid them old boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. Sleepwalking, they keep talking. I probably catch a charge and don't care what any say. Nobody. Yeah, I'm the people's grand sheik, and the people's grand sheik ain't seen a man I can't beat. Only the gods is my equal. You mortals, you just my sequel. You just my sequel. What the 85ers? Dip divers? Trying to symbolize us? You already dead. Who done got up in your head? Rent free. You wanna know who sent me? Who sent you? Leg, head. I tried to pull you out the bed, but you got up all groggy. Started talking real crazy, eyes foggy. Couldn't see through the fog. Then I had to bring the dogs, barking all up in your ear, acting like you don't care. Oh, you don't care? Like you don't preserve life. Oh yeah, and you really don't care, right? Oh, you don't care, right? Well, we gon' really check that, bet that, respect that. Since you said you ain't scared to die. I laid them young boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. I laid them old boys to rest. They was sleepwalking anyway. I'm the people's grand sheik. I ain't seen a man I can't beat. I laid them young boys to rest. They was sleepwalking anyway. I would take you on any day. Michigan, New York, Cali, where you at? What you thought? From Naptown to Baltimore, everybody on the road is all raw. They ready, choppers. I don't really think you want the problem. Hold up, raise the thought up. Back to a law. Leg, head. I try to get him out the bed. Sleepwalking anyway. Sleepwalking anyway. Wake up, keep talking. Sleepwalking anyway. Wake up. I don't care what any say. Nobody. I'm the people's grand sheik, and the people's grand sheik. I ain't seen a man I can't beat. Never. You mortals, you just my sequel. You mortals, you just my sequel. Only equals is the gods. You mortals, that's my sequel.
He says to Harker Bay?
I see.
Toronto
I
Johnson?
see dead people. Hey.
I call for a mortgage court on brother Toronto Johnson.
I see
And anybody
dead
who's riding
people.
with him with this
I laid them old boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway.
fraud the people. I never saw my brothers and sisters serving these packages when I was with
I
Daweed
laid them
Ali
young
and them.
boys to rest.
Them used to come to
They was
Chicago.
dead sleep anyway. Hey, people's grand sheik. I ain't never met a man that I can't beat. No,
He says to Harker
the
Bay?
gods is my only equal.
Toronto Johnson?
You mortals, you just my sequel. That's it.
I call for a mortgage court on brother Toronto Johnson. And anybody who's riding with him with this scandal or with these videos of me and my wife frauding the people.
I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember. I be that more you gon' remember. To Harker Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, that's right.
I be that more you gon' remember. Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my
If you
number.
a friend of the Moors, then you's a friend of mine. I was told to watch my enemies, now hold my line. Those that speak against the prophet, they speak against me. And I'm speaking about the prophet over Drew Ali, who was the first to remind you and bind you back to Morocco, the mountains, Mississippi, and Quebec. Told you you wasn't black, proved it with straight facts. You tripping off trucks, you need to be tripping off that. Now here we go again, acting like you a slave. The same people taught European how to bathe. And looking at women buying European hair. No love for self, but do the men really care? Hell no, cause they got a love for Europe. Whole generation chasing pills, weed and syrup. Yeah, they love Lil Yachty, Tucci, Gucci, Kodak, Amigos, Ross, Lucid. But when the love for the woman look like your mother, I guess they say it's all black when it's under the cover. Now cypher, I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, that's right. I be that more you gon' remember. Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, that's right. I be that more you gon' remember. Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my number. All you super scholars holler, this era for the workers. You ain't building on the ground, then you worse than a twerker. You look and sound good, but that's only on the surface. Probably working for them people. Now tell me what's your purpose. Ain't worried about your homie, but know that I know every mo that rock a fast. He ain't my bro. Yeah, you know I ain't slow. I seen it all before. How they try to kill the prophet, it was all for dough. And some got it right now. Don't say that I'm not down. I'm coming for my vast estate. I want my town, my sheriff, my stores, my school, my nation. Sick and tired of the procrastination and debate. Y'all keep hating when love is the savior. You don't love yourself, so you can't love your neighbor. That's why you kill and fight and marry out of your race. If you ain't for Moorish world, then get out of my face. Cause Chinese love China, Italians love Italy. If you used to love the Moorish world, come on and build it with me. Let's go. I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, that's right. I be that more you gon' remember. Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, oh yeah. I be that more you gon' remember. Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember. Be more. I be that more you gon' remember. That town. I be that more you gon' remember. Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember. LA. I be that more you gon' remember. New York. I be that more you gon' remember. Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my number.
Welcome to another edition of Moorish World TV. Are you able to hear your esteemed host, Brother Tahaka Bay? Press 7 if you can hear your esteemed host, Brother Tahaka Bay. Can you hear your esteemed host, Brother Tahaka Bay? Can you dig it? Family, welcome to another edition of Moorish World TV. I'm your Steve host, Brother Tahaka Bay. And I like to make a disclaimer. And I'm going to make this disclaimer until somebody step up. I'm going to make this disclaimer until somebody step up. If you hear, anybody ready? Anybody into the Bible anymore? Anybody read the Bible anymore? Everybody want to throw their Bible away, but sometimes Bible is history in the making. And you're not in the Bible. They say you're gonna hear rumors of wars. You're gonna hear famines, and you're gonna hear this, that, and the third. Well, if you're familiar with those things that's in the Bible, I want to say that if you hear rumors of or about Tahaka Bay, the People's Grand Sheik, I implore you to be nice to the rumor makers, and you say, listen, Tahaka Bay. He allows people to come on his show. And if you have any paperwork on Tahaka Bay, he's ready to challenge your paperwork that you have on Tahaka Bay. The only stipulation is you have to open your camera up, and it's going to be in a debate form. the legitimacy of your claims. And I'm going to make this, and I'm actually going to record this. So let me say it real nice, because I'm going to record this so I won't have to say it every time. So it's going to be the beginning of my show. So, all right, wait a minute. I challenge anybody who claims to have official paperwork on the People's Grand Sheik, myself, Brother Tahaka Bey. I challenge you to meet me on Moorish World TV, and you present what you have to the YouTube, Moorish World TV, as well as your audience or your constituents, and I shall present what I have to Moorish World TV citizens, your constituents, as well as the YouTube community. This is a disclaimer. I will not respond absence of the accuser. I intend to embarrass the accuser who fabricate lies. And the accuser don't necessarily have to step up. A representative of the accuser is sufficient. Now, back to what I was talking about. So, family, today is going to be a very, very educated show. Today is going to be a very, very educated show. I've said before that it is time. Hold up, my aunt is not even my aunt. Let me make sure my aunt is my aunt. That's right, counselor. Make the paperwork pay-per-view. Oh, yeah, you're going to pay. You're going to pay for this embarrassment. You're going to pay. But with that being said, so this show is very important. And I think this is a show that you should also show your family members, your children. It's kind of like the shows I used to do when I used to cover a lot of Moorish topics, where you can bring your children in the room, you can bring your grandmother in the room, you can bring your cousins in the room, you can bring whomever in the room. You actually can watch this with your coworkers. This is one of the most important shows I think that I've done to date as it relates to information. The scamming shows are truly important because it protects those who had intentions of buying into a scam. However, this show is one of them shows. This shows is one of them shows where, again, we must look deep within ourselves. We must look within ourselves and come with the facts about ourselves. Man, we got to do better. You know what I'm saying? And I want you to, as you watch this show, I'm getting my slides together. As you watch this show, what I want you to do is, I want you to compare this information to all the information, that we have available on YouTube as a group of people. And this information is going to be a sad journey down the path of nowhere, trying to go somewhere. That I'm telling you that this ain't good. And I said ain't good. This ain't good at all. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. First of all, I'm going to start off just like this. We're going to start off with a bang. You know what I'm saying? With all of the shaking and the booty popping and all of the flexing with the rappers and the holding up bundles of money and the flexing with the rose voices and all of that. Have anybody ever considered what our ancestors possibly could be thinking? Have anybody ever considered the sacrifices that our ancestors was forced to make? Like, I refuse to believe that they say, you know what, we're going to get smacked upside our head. We're going to get hung from trees. We're going to do all of this stuff. So one day there'll be a generation booty popping, making it rain, rapping, beefing, and twerking. I refuse to believe that. So let's get started. So what I want to share first is, let's go straight to it, family. If you ain't into the educated, if you ain't in for the education today, then this ain't your show today. So let's go in here. Let me blow it up a little bit. So when you look at this flyer right here, I want to explain this flyer to you. This advertisement here represents an elder looking down at the skinning and grinning Afro-American, so-called African-American, so-called black person, Negro, whatever, colored, whatever we choose to go by today. But this is what this flyer represents. And she got her hand on her hip, but she ain't dancing. When I dip, you dip, we dip. She ain't doing all that. She ain't doing all that. From all the whippings that she had to take to save her husband and her children, from all the bootlicking and the brash bluffing. I mean, she had to bluff real hard to save some of the people that was stubborn. You feel what I'm saying? Our ancestors paved the way for us to act a monkey fool. Because that's what we acting. A monkey fool. I'm going to still expose these scammers and weirdos. Because they acting a monkey fool too. Now watch this. One of the first things I said, 5 embarrassing facts about blacks and quote, unquote. This is 5 embarrassing facts. And we should be ashamed of ourselves once I lay these facts out. If we don't like the truth, you might as well get low now. One thing, we've been around long enough. We don't have, this is number 1. We don't have one quote unquote black media, Moorish media, Hebrew media. We don't have one, but let me be clear what I'm talking about when I'm talking about what I'm talking about. We don't have one media. Hold up. We don't have one media, nor are we at the beginning stages. Give me 1 second. Nor are we at the beginning stages of a media of our agenda-based media. What do I mean by that? We don't have our own agenda-based media. Fox News is agenda-based. What's their agenda? Their agenda is the Republican cause. CNN is the liberal cause. MSNBC is the liberal cause. YouTube is the cause for the rainbow and the liberal. You feel what I'm saying? They will say you have Oprah and BET. Well, they tell you, Universal owned BET and Oprah been owned. I say agenda-based. Do we know? See, you got to understand agenda-based. Al Jazeera is agenda-based media based on, you know what I'm saying? Based on the Arabs' agenda. They show you what they want you to see. So they can control. Like, say for instance, let me give it to you. What I mean by agenda-based media. Agenda-based media is like this. When 9/11 happened and they was demonize all the Muslims. They was demonize all the Muslims. Al Jazeera kicked in a campaign in order to paint a better image of the Muslim. Somebody say Roland Martin. Well, I say we are not at the beginning stage of our agenda-based media. In other words, Roland Martin have to go through YouTube. Roland Martin have to go through, say it with me now, European-owned platform in order to express his thoughts and opinions. You see what I'm saying? I have to go through, that don't rule me out. I'm going through YouTube right now. What I'm saying is, we are the most influential on the planet. We are the most influential on the planet. We are the biggest consumer on the planet. And we are not at the beginning stages of production of anything. Press 7 if you're with me. Press 7 if you're with me. We are the biggest consumers. We are the biggest consumers. And we are the greatest influencers. Yet, we are not at the beginning of the production of anything. How that work? How that work? That's an embarrassment. We're not at the beginning of production, is my point. In this presentation tonight, somebody was in the comment section earlier when I put it up. It says, he said that, oh, here comes this guy acting like he's one of us. You know what I'm saying? And somebody said, we got Michi X Network, now called MX Network. Once again, Michi X have to go through European platforms in order to establish her own media network. You hear what I'm saying? When we're talking about at the beginning of production, when we Byron Allen, good call, Mahasan. When we're talking about at the beginning of production, we're talking about at the beginning of production. Michi X, with all due respect, she don't own, nor do I own a server. What I'm saying is, it's not necessary that Michi X or myself have to own a server. What I'm saying is, we got to look at the issues that we face with the intent of hoping correcting them. And maybe somebody would see this that have the resources to start the beginning stages of correcting it. You see what I'm saying? Do I have what it takes to correct it or to start it? Yeah. I have some of the know-how. I started my website. I just need to continue to put content there and learn how to manipulate it in order to keep it flowing properly, work out some bells and whistles. But we have people, and you'll see through this presentation, that have the know-how. So that's number one. And I must report to you, unfortunately, that even my brother, about to give it to you in a minute, my brother Ben X recently lost his YouTube channel for a second time. He had thousands of subscribers. Ben X knows a lot of influential people. But this is the time where Ben X, myself, and whoever else is serious about controlling our own media to come together with ideas, finance, and know-how. or pay for the know-how. Because what you see lined up around them two pillars around Ben X, S's, Belevity, Urban One, The Shade Room, Carefree Mag, OK Africa, Me Feeder, Africat, Gal Dem, Crown Mag, Madam Noor, all of those are what you would call black-owned, quote-unquote, media outlets. But which one will back an influencer like Ben X? Due to its connection with Farrakhan, it will be questionable. It will be questionable. And that's a sad thing because the brother is a big influencer. But when you look at Aspire TV or Fashion Bomb Daily or Her Agenda or Revolt owned by Puffy, you have to remember that Puffy don't own the airwaves to get it out. Most of these publications, as well as media outlets, are only producing and someone else is distributing. You hear what I say? They are producing and someone else is distributing. So once again, we are not at the beginning of the production of our own agenda-based media that expresses our concerns, unfiltered, unadulterated, to the people. After all these years. How many years from today is 1865? Anybody know? Dame Dash TV is on Fox. There you go. Do we want to own anything like that? We have several black billionaires. We're going to get into that too, Christian News. I'm just here to just say that, family, we need to begin to think about these things because as long as we allow media companies to tell our story, you're going to always hear about the murders in Baltimore as opposed to the successful entrepreneurs in Baltimore. You're going to always hear about the twerking at the club with the new video and the new song as opposed to some great big entrepreneur that just rose up. You follow me? So when I'm talking about the beginning, I'm talking about at the beginning of production. I'm not talking about producing something and putting it on somebody's network and putting your brand on it. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about at the beginning of production, like a Universal. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Now, 157 years. Do you know that the Jewish people came out of the Holocaust in less time than that? What was the difference? One of the differences is that they connected to European constituents and got some assistance. It's some major wealthy countries in Africa, but we choose to come together and come up with a program in order to bring the finances back that it would take for some sort of independence. 157 years. That's a long time to be solely dependent on the same one that put you in bondage in the first place. You hear what I say? Yeah, this is going to be a sensitive show here. I mean, their skin is white and they were in torment less time. I agree with that to a degree, but also they fought for what they want. They fought. But I got you. I'm with you. But now check this out. Another thing. We don't control our own drinking water. Number 2, we don't control our own drinking water. You hear what I said? That's you and me. We are not at the beginning of production of our own drinking water. You hear what I say? After 157 years, thank you for the math, Miss Betty and Akata. After 157 years, we are not at the beginning of the production or extracting out of earth our drinking water. Did y'all hear what I say? You hear what I say? We are solely dependent. And when I say solely, I'm talking about majority of us are solely dependent on our water to be provided for us. Anybody mad yet? Anybody mad yet? Live water is out of NC, black-owned bottled water. I got something for that too. Watch this. Watch this. In my Dane Calloway voice, I'm just here to make you think. Let's start here. The Environmental Watch Group. Let me give you this link. If you want to see what your water look like in your zip code, go to the Environmental Watch Group. All right. This is a serious lesson right here. I just put the link in there, and I also put in the comment section once I'm done. The Environmental Watch Group, right? Check this out. I put in my zip code in the Environmental Watch Group. Now watch how you be amazed. In the Environmental Watch Group study that the public water in Baltimore, you hear what I say? The public water in Baltimore has 9 contaminants detected. They have more than 9. They have 25 total, but 9 that they looked into, and I implore you to look into the rest. Now, this stuff is staggering and shocking to me. Watch this. Give me 1 second. Watch this. Hope y'all stick around to the end. 9. We're going to look at the 9 contaminants. Now, it says legal does not necessarily equal safe. Thank you, Sean from the Shy. Legal does not necessarily equal safe. Getting a passing grade from federal government does not mean that the water meets the latest health guidelines. Y'all hear what I say? He said, but I drink bottled water only. Okay, Crip, I got you. Legal limits for contaminants in tap water have not been updated in almost 20 years. You don't have to drink water. Your body consumes water whenever you take a shower. Your body, you don't necessarily have to ingest water for your body to consume water, because your body absorbs water every time you take a shower. That's why when you take a shower, you come out feeling refreshed, not only because you cleaned yourself, but because your pores absorb water. All right? So with that being said, it's not always from the drinking of water. If you have ever been in a situation where you took a shower with hard water, it'll make you itch. You see what I'm saying? Because it's going into your pores. It'll make you itch. Good goodness gracious. Anybody took a shower with hard water before? like think you got the shingles or something. But now check this out. This is just something that we need to pay attention to. Watch it. In Baltimore, if you are in Baltimore, I know I'm yelling, my bad. In Baltimore, these are the 9 contaminants. Now, I'm going to butcher this thing real quick because my word play with these words are not that good. All right? But I'm going to grab 2 of these for the sake of time. I'm going to have 2 of these for the sake of time. And I want to show you what's in them. Right? So the one I'm going to grab is trihalomethanes. This is one of the contaminants that's in the water in Baltimore City that serves over 1,600,000 people. You hear what I said? That serves over 1,600,000 people. Trihalomethanes. What is that? Trihalomethanes are cancer-causing contaminants that form during water treatment with chlorine and other disinfectants. Total trihalomethanes was found at 337 times above EWG's health guidelines. The legal limit is 80. Baltimore City is 50.6. And as it says in the beginning, legal don't make get healthy. The reason is the treatment of the water. Again, as I said before, we are solely dependent. Look, somebody went there already. My score in Portland, Oregon is 14 contaminants, 4 exceed guidelines. You see, we educating people today. Shout out to Anthony B. That already went there and checked it out. See, as the elders say, well, if one learned today, I did my job. Now, check this out. The only reason that this water is contaminated is from the treatment. The same thing that is supposed to make the water safe is actually what's making the water deadly. Go figure that. The same thing that's making the water safe is making the water deadly. Good goodness gracious. But now, hold up. Let's get busy. This was interesting to me as I studied it years ago and I just brushed up on it. The second one is bromodichloromethane. Bromodichloromethane. No national drinking water standards exist. Biodichloromethane, one of the total trihomethanes, is formed when chlorine and disinfectant used to treat drinking water. Same thing. Bromidichloromethane and other disinfectant products increase the risk of cancer and may cause problems during pregnancy. Somebody just asked about pregnancy. It may cause problems during pregnancy. Health concerns, cancer, harm to reproduction and child development, change to fetal growth and development. You see what I'm talking about? And so, who are the people that's using this water This is from the tap now. Who are the people that's using this water more than other people using this water? Everybody is using tap water, but some people can afford to add filters. Some people can afford to add other things to get their water right, if they can afford it. But we are much below the poverty line in many circumstances where we can't afford, or we don't even have the knowledge of it. We don't even have the knowledge of how to offset something like this, if there's a way. Because we're too busy. What we doing? Twerking, rapping, balling, and beefing. You ever wonder why back in the day we never heard so many cancer cases as opposed to the cancer cases we find today? Nobody ever considered how cancer has increased in modern times as opposed to the 70s or the 80s. Anybody ever pay attention to that? I always wondered why, and I always paid attention. Why didn't I hear such horrific stories of abundance about cancer and all of these things when I was a little boy? And I paid attention. My grandmother watched the news, and I sit there and watch with her. My grandmother listened to the radio, and the news was on the radio, and I listened with her. I mean, then this is in Baltimore, so you should go and check out yours too. One of the last things that they have in the water is, to treat the water, is chloroform. It's chloroform. Chloroform is in your bath water. Anybody know what chloroform used for primarily? Huh? Anybody? Somebody know what chloroform is used for primarily? There you go. There you go. There you go. They put chloroform in drinking water. Once again, 157 years. 157 years. And we are not at the beginning of the production of our own drinking water. Why do we have time for anything else if these things haven't been addressed? Is anybody addressing this, that we are not at the beginning stage of production of none of this stuff? We are not at the beginning stages of the production of our own water. Come on, man. This is crazy. Chloroform, one of the trilomethanes, is formed when chlorine and other disinfectants used to treat drinking water. Chloroform and other disinfectant byproducts increase the risk of cancer and may cause problems during pregnancy also. And there is no legal limit on how much they can use. Now, what type of water is actually safer? This is an older study, but check it out. This is a 99 study, and I think you can upgrade. I didn't want to keep going because I wanted to get a bunch of other stuff in, so I just grabbed the quickest thing I could, but I want you to do your homework on this and ask yourself, what water is actually the safest? Now, this is about 20 years ago. And they say after a 4-year review of bottled water industry and its safety standards, NRDC concluded that there is no assurance that bottled water is cleaner or safer than tap. In fact, an estimated 25% or more bottled water is really just tap water in a bottle, sometimes further treated, sometimes not. Of the 1,000 bottles tested, the majority proved that the relatively clean and pure. About 22% of brands tested chemicals at levels above state health limits in at least one sample. If consumed over a long period of time, some of these contaminants could cause cancer and other health problems for people with weakened immune system. That's talking about bottled water back then. Maybe all the nonsense we see from our own people behaving simply the ignorance of basic clean water is not comprehending the importance of clean water. This is a reason why I wanted to talk about the 5 embarrassing things. This is 5 embarrassing things as a people we are not at the beginning of the production of it. You wonder why we all crazy? You wonder why people stalk me for 4 years on the internet? It's in the water. It's in the water. It's in the water. Real talk, literally. Check this out. Now, this is a new study from Catherine Zaratsky. Tap water and bottled water are generally comparable in terms of safety. So the choice of tap water and bottled water is mostly a matter of personal preference. In the U.S., the Food and Drug Administration oversees bottled water, while Environmental Protection Agency regulates tap water. Did anybody know that? The Food and Drug Administration oversees bottled water, while the Environmental Protection Agency regulates tap water. However, they use the same standards for ensuring safety. The EPA mandates that water utilities provide annual quality reports to consumers. These consumer confident reports provide information such as source, river, lake, aquifer, my bad if I butchered it, and other source, contaminant levels and potential health effects. However, the EPA does not regulate private wells. So if your tap water comes from a private well, you should test your water every year for contaminants, most frequently if needed. You follow me? So that was number 2. Now, when we start talking about vegan and vegetarian, things of that nature, did anybody ever know that you can use cilantro to filter and clean your water? Plants are natural filters, both above ground and in the water. Hikers and other outdoor adventures use plants in the woods to get clean drinking water. But you can do the same thing at home. There are a wide variety of plants that you can use to filter your water. Take notes. Cilantro is one of the most common household items that can purify water. Just grind it up and filter water through it. The herb may even remove heavy metals as effectively as charcoal filters. You can also use lemon peels, the core of cactus, and pine tree branches. So these are basic things that we should know for a state of survival. That you can use cilantro to filter your water to have clean water. If something was to go crazy, whereas though you ain't know how to get clean water, now you know you can filter your water through cilantro. This is the stuff we need to know during these end of times and fulfilling of the prophecies. We are at the end of times and fulfilling of the prophecy. That don't mean that the world is going to end, but this wickedness is going to come to a close, but it's coming to a crescendo. You understand what I'm saying? The wickedness is coming to a crescendo. You hear what I'm saying? So with that being said, everything and anything is subject to happen. And you must be prepared. While we're waiting on the next argument, while we're waiting on the next TikTok, or we're waiting on the next butt shake and all of this crazy stuff for the next song, everybody else from third world countries know how to treat their water. And we call them primitive. Number three, and I'm using vegetables because I am a vegetarian, almost walking through the door of vegan. But number three, where do your fruits and vegetables come from? Many of us are not at the beginning stages of even growing or farming the food that we consume. And many of us that have gardens, many of us that do have a farm, we don't have enough to sustain ourselves. So once again, we are depending upon, after 157 years post-slavery, we are depending upon someone else to feed us. But we can talk about how great we were in Egypt. We can talk about how great the Moors was. We can walk the street with guns and scream Black Power. We can dance real good. We can rap real fine. We can buy a Rolls Royce. We can listen to our money talk. Put the money on your ear and just listen to it talk. Just listen to the money talk. We can do all that. But when it comes to feeding ourselves, we stuck. We are not at the beginning of the production of feeding ourselves to sustain ourselves. Many of us that have a garden, it's good to start there. It's good to start there. But many of our gardens can't feed us for a year round. It definitely can't feed a community. But let me tell you what we can do. We can hold the money to our head, though. It's talking to me. Some even roll it out on their sleeve like that. Anybody ever see the rappers do that? They roll that demonstration out, have a whole wad of it, but can't even feed themselves. Feed themselves. And not even attempting to start to feed themselves. All of these bodega scholars, YouTube scholars, all of these tough people, all of these intellectuals. How many intellectuals do we have in our community that is willing to step up and say, I'm on top of this? What's up, K-Cell? How many intellectuals in our community that say that I'm on top of this? Man, we can talk good intellectual talk. You feel me? Somebody say, what's your occupation? Answer that question. If you have to ask me that, then you're not a friend of Morris World TV. Only in America. If you have to ask me my occupation, you can't be a Morris World TV citizen. So I'm going to get you out of here. You can't be a Morris World TV citizen to ask that question. You suspect off the top. You blocked. You suspect off the top. Get out of here. Now, in the U.S., California is the largest producer of food despite of having less than 4% of the farms in the country. So it's California that produces most of the grown food. You hear what I said? But listen to this. In the U.S., California is the largest producer of food despite having less than 4% of the farms in the country. What does that tell you? If you have less than 4% of the farms in the country and you have more food than any other place in the country and over 450 crops, what does that mean? That means there is hormones and fast growth. Hormones to make sure that it's rapidly producing. And as counselors say, it's grown in labs. Oh, less than 4% of the farms in the country? Do you know what less than 4% look like? And it said the state has a unique Mediterranean climate that allows it to grow a variety of over 450 plus different crops. So you know, growing it at the rate to be the largest producer in the U.S., you already know what's happening, right? You can fact check me. You already know what's happening, right? You already know what's happening. This is what I'm saying. We are not at the beginning of the production of our own food. We don't know what we're eating from day to day. And when you look at the Bible, and many people try to criticize the Bible, and they say somebody lived 300 years. Ain't no way you can live 300 years eating this mess. Ain't no way you can live 200 years eating this. Here we go. This is how it is. Food production is spread across much of the country, but the largest food producing states in 2018, and this is 2022 also, according to the United States Department of Agriculture, California, Iowa, Texas, Nebraska, Minnesota, Illinois, Kansas, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Indiana. California still reigns supreme. Kale remains in the third spot of our 30 dozen. This comes from the Environmental Watch Group. Kale remains in the third spot of our 30 dozen list. Now joined by collard greens and mustard greens. Who eat collard greens, mustard greens, and kales more than anybody? But us. As being among the produce items with the highest pesticide load. You hear what I say? You hear what I say? Kale remains to be the third spot on our 30 dozen list. This is the Environmental Watch Group. Now joined by collard greens and mustard greens as being among the produce items with the highest pesticide load. After being tested for the first time since 2012 and 2011, respectively, bell peppers and hot peppers are also included in this year's list 10th spot. See, I'm going back and bringing it up for you. I'm going to go back and bring it up for you. That's right. Christian News, you know Reverend always going to have a pot of kale up in there or some collard greens. He might have neck bone up in there too. In the USDA most recent test The pesticides most frequently detected on collard greens and mustard greens, as is also the case with kale, is DCPA, sold under the brand name Dactyl. Now, what I do, I like to go back because they try to cover this stuff today. And it's hard to find the intricate information as to what's the standard is today. So I'm going to take you back and I'm going to bring you back up. The EPA classified DCPA as a possible human carcinogen. And in 2009, the European Union banned it. Other problematic pesticides on greens include potentially neurotoxic. You hear that? Neurotoxic. Nicotinoids and pyrethroids. I ain't looked that up. Good goodness of gracious. You wonder why these brothers and sisters crazy? That's why Jesus said, forgive them. They know not what they do. Forgive them. They know not what they do. These people are on cruise control with neurotoxins. I'm trying to tell you. Our people is on cruise control with neurotoxins. That's why you got to forgive them. They know not what they do. That kale I had one time felt my nerves was on fire. Was crazy. Nearly 70% of non-organic fresh produce in the U.S. contains residue of potentially harmful chemical pesticides. According to the EWG's analysis of the latest test data from the Federal Department of Agriculture, this year, along with the items on the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 list, EWG is highlighting harmful fungicides detected on citrus fruits tested by the USDA, as well as in tests we commissioned. You see that? So you got strawberries, you got spinach, you got kale, collards, mustard greens, nectarines, apples, grapes, cherries, peaches, pears, bell and hot peppers, celery, and tomatoes. And the claim is the only way that you can avoid that is organic. That's the claim. The only way 70%, that's a high number. The only way that you can avoid it is organic. And we know organic is a little bit more expensive than what's on the shelf. The Center for Food Safety, the genetic engineering of plants and animals, is looming as one of the greatest and most intractable environmental challenges of the 21st century. Did y'all hear what that say, family? I hope y'all get this. I know we ain't jumping around acting a plum fool today, but let me tell you something. The genetic engineering of plants and animals is looming as one of the greatest and most intractable environmental challenges of the 21st century. You hear what it say? It said currently up to 92% of the U.S. corn is genetically engineered, as are 94% of soybeans. This is why you should not eat soy products as a vegan or vegetarian. I avoid them at all costs. And 94% of cottonseed oil is often used in food products. It has been estimated that upwards of 75% of processed foods on supermarket shelves, listen to this, from soda to soup, crackers to condiments, contain genetically engineered ingredients. Now let's talk. Listen, family, we need to look at what we doing. We need to look at what we're doing. By removing the genetic material from an organism and inserting it into a permanent genetic code of another, the biotech industry has created an astounding number of organisms that are not produced by nature. You know? The biotech industry has created an astounding number of organisms that are not produced by nature and have never been seen on a plate. These include potatoes with bacteria genes. Listen close to this. Potatoes with bacteria genes. Super pigs with human growth genes. Now remember, this number is 75%. So if you're still eating swine, it's even worse now than when people will be coming into Islam and saying, I don't eat pork. It's even worse now. Super pigs with human growth genes. Fish with cattle growth genes. Tomatoes with flounder genes. Corn with bacteria genes, and thousands of other altered and engineered plants, animals, and insects. At an alarming rate, these creations are now being patented and released to our environment and our food supply. So, you know what that means, being released into the environment? Say it without them saying it. It means that they genetically engineering animals and releasing them. So if they genetically engineer, say, a deer, and they do 100 deers within a certain area, then that genetically engineered deer goes out there and mate and produce genetically engineered deer. Now, the guy who likes deer meat shoots the deer, think he's getting some fresh meat. In fact, he has a genetically engineered deer. They take fish, and actually in Pennsylvania, they do it all the time. They got streams full of fish. You know what I'm saying? They got streams full of fish where they catch and then they release. You know what I'm saying? Where they catch and release. So what it's saying is that they take these fish, genetically engineer them, and then put them back out into the wild. You hear what I say? So just because you're not getting it off the shelf of the store doesn't mean that you are not getting genetically engineered meat because you catch it in the ocean. You just don't know. And we're going to talk about the ocean again. You just don't know. You just don't know. The only way you will know, if you grow your food to the best of your ability, harvest your seeds, and grow it again, but from the beginning of the production, assure yourself that they are not genetically modified seeds from a genetically modified plant. But this is where we at after 157 years. What do we got? We got time for what? This is what struck me recently. Well, I'm doing these shows right now because I looked at these weirdos making up these crazy lies. And I said to myself, would I dedicate myself to responding to weirdos or dedicate my talents to giving this to the people? Now, if the weirdo want to step up face to face and show their face on camera, I will embarrass them. But would I dedicate myself to that? Or to share some of the knowledge that I have, such as this? I'd rather wait for the weirdo to get confident and then step up with their claims, and in the meantime, let you understand, help you to understand what's really going on. Because again, we are at the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecy. Everything is hitting the crescendo. Everything is hitting the crescendo. You know what I'm saying? Listen, the world is vibrating at a high rate. It's a reset going on. And we don't know what tomorrow will bring. We don't know. But whatever it brings, you want to be prepared. You can start tomorrow. Look online for organic seeds. You can start tomorrow. And you can wean yourself. You can wean yourself off of dependence. You follow me? So let's go. It says, one second. It says, a question of risk. A number of studies over the past decade have revealed that genetically engineered foods can pose serious risks to farmers, human health, domesticated animals, wildlife, and the environment. Despite these long-term, wide-ranging risks, Congress have yet to pass a single law intended to manage them responsibly. The haphazard and neglect agency regulation of the biotechnology has been a disaster for consumers and the environment. Unsuspecting consumers, by the tens of millions, are purchasing and consuming unlabeled genetically engineered foods. Now, and again, I'm doing this because I know my people, many of my people, are totally asleep about this. There was a time when I was super goofy asleep about this. It said tens of millions are purchasing and consuming unlabeled genetically engineered food, despite a finding by U.S. Food and Drug Administration, scientists that these foods could pose serious risk. Center for Safety seeks to halt the approval, commercialization, and the release of any new genetically engineered crops until they have been thoroughly tested and found safe for human health and the environment. CFS maintains that any food that already contains GE ingredients must be clearly labeled, and advocates for the contaminants and reduction of existing genetically engineered crops. So that is number 3 we still on. Black-owned farms make up less than 2% of the farms in the United States. And now, these farms are not farms to feed large communities, but they are farms yet and still, and they make up less than 2%. According to a recent report, Black farmers, quote unquote, lost 80% of their farmland from 1910 to 2007. 2007 is not that far away, often because they lack access to loans or insurance needed to sustain their businesses. The report mentions the long and well-documented history of discrimination against Black farmers by the USDA. You see how the monopoly is being played? It goes on to state that an unequal administration of government farm support program, crucial to protecting farmers from inherently risk enterprise, has had a profound impact on the rural communities of color, quote and unquote. It is clear that the Black farmers need help now more than ever. We also need fresh produce they provide. Here's a list of Black-owned farmers and gardeners that we can support. But these, and I went through the list, and these were small, little community farmers. There's nothing to sustain a community. So once again, as a people, we are solely dependent. We are solely dependent. And like, I don't care if you are a member of the church or you are for Muslim, if you are whatever you are, But this is a sad state of affairs when you look at these numbers. This is a sad state of affairs. Only 6 of the United States' 615 billionaires are African American, quote unquote. 4 billionaires list shows the staggeringly low number of American billionaires that identify as being African descent. Highlights the widening crest between economic opportunities afforded to Black and white Americans, quote unquote. Now, I know many people probably thought there was more of us that were billionaires. But according to Forbes, there's only 6. You're going to know why I point this out in a minute. There are 6 billionaires within our group as classified descendants of Africans, regardless of what you call yourself. We're not getting into you're a Moor, you're a Hebrew, you're a Christian, you're a Baptist, you're a Muslim. We're not getting into that. We just get into the facts. And the fact of the matter is, there's only 6 of the 615. In other words, it don't look good. Because the 6 that we're about to look at, and I'm going to name ones that you may not be familiar with. Stewart. Let me get his right name real quick. I think it's up here. Brother name. I get his first name real quick. Let me give me 1 second. I didn't click my note. This is one that I know you ain't aware of, but I want to get his whole name. I don't want to butcher his name. You know what I'm saying? But this is Big Bro Stewart. Where's my clip at? There it is. Worldwide Technology. Let me get it. His name real quick. This brother. Marlow Heights. Marlow Heights, Maryland. Oh my goodness. David Stewart. David Stewart. Let me bring it back up. David Stewart. See, this is the billionaires we don't know about. Let me write it in there. David Stewart. This is how we supposed to be trying to find a way to build. David Stewart founded Worldwide Technology and IT Services company that has generated over $11 billion in sales, according to Forbes. Stewart, 68, serves as the company chairman. The Missouri-based billionaire still has majority stake in the company. Stewart, Wide Technology deal with consulting services as it relates to technology. Cloud service, we're dealing with a cloud right now on YouTube. Digital consulting, security transformation. Now remember, this is technology. Supply chain and integration services. That's talking about Amazon type platforms and ATC platform. Now, I'm not sure what that is, but we know Amazon is a big thing. But now, the point is, why don't you know him for being for anything that we stand for? Because he's a businessman with interest in business, not in community as it relates to race, nationality, or creed. He's just a businessman. So again, he benefits everyone to a degree, but not particularly us as a people. when you look at other groups of people, you will find that the first charity that they do is home. Like, you have more people outside of our group who seems to try to help than those inside the group that are able to help. You know, I know they're gonna get mad because I say this stuff, but it's a fact. It's a fact. The whole thing about it is that when people outside of our group try to help, these people like Black Lives Matter, they take all of that help, they glamorize themselves, and they look for stardom or prestige as a rapper or a Hollywood star. When you look at Black Lives Matter, you look at Until Freedom, and you look at all of these people that's supposed to be standing for justice or on the front line, much of their charity come from outside of the group called Black or African American or whatever. Most of the contributions come from outside. But the moment that them contributions come, people begin to glamorize themselves as opposed to work towards the goal and what you say that you stand for. So many of these 6 billionaires, you will see, really don't have any interest of dedicating their money towards the greater causes that need to be addressed when it comes to us as a people. Because the moment that they do, the wicked system that exists may design a way to pull the carpet right from under their feet. Right from under their feet. And they fear that. So, hey, I ain't with all that. So this is David Stewart, 11 billion in sales. And we still are not at the beginning of production of something that is solely about advancing us. Not one, but advancing us. Investor Robert F. Smith is the richest, quote unquote, Black man in the country, a Cornell West graduate and former Goldman Sachs executive. Smith built his multi-billion-dollar fortune running private equity firm, Vista Equity Partners. Business Insider previously reported Vista is one of the most successful private equity firms in the nation, with more than $46 billion in assets and posting annualized return of 22%. Smith became the first African American to sign the Giving Pledge in 2017, an invitation on Alliance of Billionaires, who have pledged to give away majority of their fortune. Smith is perhaps best known for his philanthropy. In May 2019, he announced a $34 million gift to pay off student loans of Morehouse College. Now, that's a beautiful thing, but we know in a minute that most of these brothers and sisters that comes out this college, and most of the college, they do not dedicate their expertise to us and only us. 1 or 2 would be good. But you know what they do? They go right and find a job. Many do not create a job. They go and seek employment. Rightfully so. But seek employment and seek in retirement after you have went to school doesn't make sense, because most people from foreign countries they will come and go to school in the United States, take it back, and help their people. And I say not just help them, help their people. While speaking during historically black college graduation ceremony, Smith later expanded the gift to cover graduate parents' educational debts. Honorable. Honorable thing. Shout out to him, Robert F. Smith. But what I'm saying is, again, we are not at the beginning of the production of anything. Even with billionaires. Here are the 6 billionaires. There they go. Number 4. We almost there. Number 4. We can't even turn on our lights without help. You hear what I say? Now, Drake not a billionaire, not this year. We can't turn on our lights without help. That's right. It was 10, now 6. That's right, Akata. It was 10, now 6. We can't turn on our lights without help. After 157 years. That's a tough pill to swallow. With all the advances in technology, we are not at the beginning of the power, or as Miss Betty say, power energy supply. With all the advances of technology, no one stepped forward and said, I'm going to use this land right here and dedicate it for a resource for the group. It's looking bad. Embarrassing 5 things that quote unquote black people refuse to do for self. Develop renewable sources of energy. Name a company where we own a windmill to generate energy from the wind. Name a company where we produce solar panels so we can get energy from the sun. Name a company where we have a hydroelectric plant where we can create electricity from water. Name a company that we are at the beginning stages of production where we can take waste and doo-doo, landfill, and create electricity. After 157 years. After 157 years post-slavery. Solar panels and windmills, these are relatively new. We are not at the beginning of the production of that. In fact, many of our people don't even think about the beginning of production of renewable sources of energy. We don't care. We just go pay our bill and keep it moving. And if we have entrepreneurs in our group, it's about making some more money. You know, what we need windmills for? Again, we are solely dependent upon someone else. We are solely dependent on someone else. I actually seen that, Akata. I actually seen they got a water operated car right now, but it's not in mass production. So absolutely right. And we're gonna cover some of that stuff too, to my brother Akata. We're gonna cover some of that stuff too. Some of the things that are being initiated, we're gonna highlight some of that in the future too. Because some of these things that I'm talking about that we are not at the beginning of production, they also being initiated, but they're not being financed. You hear what I say? They're being initiated, but they're not being financed. They need financial backing. You feel what I'm saying? The system keeps people dependent though. I mean, hey, I'm with Crip on this one for real. Let's just shake it up and see what happened. Let's just shake it up and see what happened. Let's shake it up and see what happened. I'm with Crip on that. Who are the top 10 solar manufacturers? None represents you. Black Power, More, Ashe, Salam Alaikum. None. How do we have the audacity to act as if we have arrived? I'm just naming 5 things, and these 5 things are essential. Five things. We don't even produce a solar panel. We have to get them from somewhere else and reproduce them or resell them. We don't even attempt to reverse engineer. Buy one, take it apart, and see how it works. China got this. China got this. Look at the 5 things I named. These are essential things. These are essential things. This is not something that we can just willy-nilly fly by night and don't trip. Last but not least, and I always talk about this, wastewater treatment. And it brings us back home. This is number 5 to what I started with, drinking water. We don't even treat our own doo-doo. We don't even treat our own waste. From the moment that it goes into the waste treatment plant, we don't even know how or own a facility to treat our own doo-doo. For one, we don't have a community. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. This is the thing where we should be thinking about. What do they even mean by treatment? Glad you asked. This is Baltimore County Treatment Facility for Human Waste and runoff from your house, from your dishwater, from your sink, from your tub. The Back River plant located in Dundalk is limited to discharging up to 180 million gallons of treated wastewater into the Back River, a tributary of the Chesapeake Bay. Hold up, under its permit. This comes 2 months after the state of Maryland filed a lawsuit against Baltimore City over untreated discharge into the Chesapeake Bay. They are pouring doo-doo in the Chesapeake Bay. So if you are eating fish in Maryland, and most of the fish in Maryland comes out of the Chesapeake Bay, you probably got some diseased type fish. This is recent news. This comes 2 months after the state of Maryland filed a lawsuit against Baltimore City over untreated discharge into the Chesapeake Bay from the Patapsco water treatment plant and Back River water treatment plants. In other words, these are two different plants. They're just running doo-doo into the Chesapeake Bay. You know that Maryland crabs everybody talk about? They come from the Chesapeake Bay. Last summer, Blue Water Baltimore, an environmental watchdog group, called attention to the high bacteria levels in the city harbor. In the harbor, which prompted MDE inspection that discovered sewage overflow violations at both plants. So when we talk about treatment, we almost there now. If you in Baltimore and you like them blue crabs, all right now. All right now. All right now. Watch this. Water treatment 101. Many communities have wastewater treatment plants that incorporate a series of process removing pollutants from the water used in homes, small business, industries, and other facilities. All wastewater first goes through the primary treatment process, which involves screening and settling out large particles. That means the first thing that happens when the doo-doo hit the plant is it separate undissolved toilet paper, undissolved toilet paper rolls, or whatever has made its way to the plant. If it's particles that is doo-doo, it is separated from the water. All right? The wastewater then moves to the secondary treatment process, during which organic matter is removed. Organic matter is removed by allowing bacteria to break down the pollutants. The treated wastewater is then usually disinfected with chlorine to remove the remaining bacteria. All right, here we go. Some communities go one step further and put wastewater through advanced treatment process to reduce the level of pollutants and special concern to the local water body. This did not happen. This did not happen. You know what I'm saying? Such as nitrogen or phosphorus. After this step, the treated water finally flows through pipes back to the local water body. But hold up now. It flows back to the water body, but hold up now. What you flush or pour down your drain affects the rivers, lakes, coastal waters in our community. Where does the water go after you flush the toilet or drain in your sink in your home? When the wastewater flushed from your toilet or drained from the household sink, washing machines? Here it is. This water leaves your home and flows through the community sanitary sewer system and the wastewater treatment facility. The wastewater from the homes, along with the wastewater from business industries and other facilities, is treated by a variety process. What happens to the treated water then? It leaves the wastewater treatment plant. The treated wastewater is released into local waterways where it is used again for any number of purposes, such as supplying drinking water or irrigating crops and sustaining aquatic life. It goes back into drinking water. You see that? So once again, we have went full circle. We don't even produce the beginning stages of the water that we drink. We don't dig our wells. We don't filter our water, and then we don't produce our food, but then once we poop it out, we allow someone to give it right back to us. And here in Baltimore, this water that's given right back to us, coming from 2 treatment facilities that just flush doo-doo back into the tributaries and into the Chesapeake Bay. And I would guarantee you, majority of Baltimoreans are not even aware of this. You think the dope boy on the corner aware of this? You think the brother and sister that's going to the club this Friday or Saturday aware of this? Ain't nobody gonna tell them either. This is why it's so critical for us to wake up and become politically active. Because this is political here. This is political. This is straight political. Many people like say, well, I don't believe in politics. Well, you better get something. This is political. No checks and balance on the poop center. That's political. It's laws and regulations that govern that. That's straight political. That's why we got an organization called the Alliance for Political Accountability. Somebody need to be held accountable. This is all political. Everything that we suffer under is political. That's why on the flyer, I say from slavery to slave, back to slavery. Because slavery is an institution that was politicized, even with the whipping of the backs and the hanging and the cutting it was political. It was an economic political movement or institution. People want to be so personal when it comes to talking about slavery, but the first thing you have to understand that it was political. It was an economic and political institution. And everything that I'm talking about right now, from the food, from the water, from the media, all of that is political. So any brother or sister that look like you and tell you stay away from politics, they might be trying to keep you enslaved. Because locally, you are supposed to move the crook and the hypocrite out of office, and you are supposed to represent the people because the power is in the people. Now, that's not the end-all be-all. The end-all be-all is that every one of us should be striving for some sort of family independence. And then maybe the families can come together and get into a group independence. And then hopefully maybe a national or nation independence. These are extras. Those was my 5, but these are extra. Not many of our sisters, young sisters, breastfeed. Compared with formula, the nutrients in breast milk are better absorbed and used by your baby. These include sugar, carbohydrates, and protein. Breast milk has the nutrients that are best for your baby's brain, growth, and nervous system and development. You know, and I know they're going to get that WIC. They're going to get soy milk. They're going to get Similac. They're going to get Enfamil because it's more convenient. Poisoning the baby before the baby even have a chance. We don't produce the checks and balances when it comes to Similac, when it comes to all of these alternative to breast milk. I remember hearing sister, I ain't breastfeed. Make my breast sag. I've heard that before. Now, last but not least, and this is just extra, we don't control the educational system that comes. We don't control the educational system that we send our children to learn. In Baltimore, the authority to determine the curriculum rests with the district, not individual teachers. Check this out. I mean, teachers as employees must carry out that curriculum and abide by any restrictions. And they do not have the right to use whatever teaching materials or methodologies they choose. If this is contrary to school policy, I'm going to say it again. Teachers as employees must carry out that curriculum and abide by any restrictions. That means if Columbus discovered America, Columbus discovered America. If you all were slaves on a slave ship packed like sardines, you were a slave on slave ships packed like sardines. If you never built an architectural structure and you lived in mud huts with loincloths, you feel me? That's what they have to teach. I keep saying it in the chat. PGS, you over here talking about something real while others talk about Will Smith be slapping Chris Rock. And that's why we are in the condition that we're in. Because it's more entertaining that Will Smith smacked Chris Rock as opposed to considering how far lost we are as a people. How far lost we as a people. So the school curriculum is taught. And guess what? I don't know about your city, but I do this so you can check your city too. Guess who controls the curriculum in Baltimore and Maryland? Professional Standards and Teachers Education Board controls that in Baltimore. If you want to know who controls the curriculum in your state, go look it up. As an advisory board established by the State Board of Education, the Professional Standard and Teachers Education Board originated in 1991. It was authorized in statute in 1991, Chapter 662 Act of 1991 with the State Board of Education. The Professional Standards and Teachers Educational Board sets the standards and regulation by which teachers and other professionals are prepared and licensed for Maryland Public School. The board, 25 members, are appointed to a 3-year term by the governor with the Senate advice and consent. This is law. This is political. This who makes the curriculum for your daughters, for your sons in Baltimore and Maryland surrounding areas. Welcome to your teacher. This who determines your education in Baltimore. In Baltimore. Here you go. There you go. This is who controls the education for the predominantly Americans, descendants from Africans. There you go. Thank you for joining me, family. This has been a very delightful night. The games need to stop, man. The games must stop. It's time for us to take this thing serious. It's time for us to wake up. This show basically is just dropping the seed. It's just dropping the seed. If you choose to grow some food during this growing season, then we have made some headway. You know what I'm saying? We have made some headway. If you just choose to do one thing, if you know people who have influence in finance and is willing to assist, come up with a plan. Come up with a program. Invest in your plan and program that can be beneficial to everybody. Because at some point, you may have to call into defense to save yourself by some of the things that I mentioned today. Crip say I'm getting a new water filter to get away from city water. Absolutely. And like, it's to the point now, again, we're going to expose these scammers. It's 4:40 a.m. Counselor Cole says 4:40. We are going to we're going to expose these scammers. But the biggest problem of one being scammed is not being able to detect the scammer in the first place. We still believe in Santa Claus. We still believe in the Easter Bunny. So not only are scammers within our community are targeting or looking for a victim amongst us, we are being victimized every day. We are being victimized every day and don't even know it. And I call this the 5 embarrassing things amongst us. And I use that just to really spark some interest that we need to wake up. Family, I appreciate you. I got to get up early tomorrow. I got a lot of things I got to do. I will see y'all soon. Probably on Tuesday. I'll probably see y'all on Tuesday. But I'll see y'all soon. Peace and love, family. Thanks. I hope that you share this. I'm going to continue to do this information. So if this information, I'll probably do this information for the next month or two. Unless a court case come up or a scammer that showed they raggedy self. But if a scammer show his raggedy self, then I gotta jump on him. You know what I'm saying? But for now, it's so much important stuff that need to be said that can help us along the way. Because again, we are at the end of time and fulfilling of the prophecies. And when I say we at the end of time, that don't mean that the world is going to end. That means that this restart is about to happen. And however it happened, you must be prepared for it. Peace and love. I'm out.
I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember. I be that more you gon' remember. To Harker Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember. That's right. I be that more you gon' remember. To Harker Bay front line till the law call my number.
You a friend of the Moors, then you a friend of mine. I was told to watch my enemies, now hold my line. Those that speak against the prophet, they speak against me. And I'm speaking about the prophet over Drew Ali, who was the first to remind you and bind you back to Morocco, the mountains, Mississippi, and Quebec. Told you you wasn't black, proved it with straight facts. You tripping off trucks, you need to be tripping off that. Now here we go again, acting like you a slave. Family, see y'all tonight, 9:30. Let's go.
I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember. Bay front line till